Okay.
I'm recording. And what I'm going to do now is talk about our next assignments coming up have to do with MLA citations, a little heavier than we have been. So this week's assignment, and you'll get to it yourself coming up, you have to set up your paper. So this is not a typed paper, but you have to set up your paper like if this is blank with your name, the instructor's name, the course name, and the due date. You'll have a running header at the top of your paper and there's videos, there's a lot you'll see that teaches you how to do that. And in a minute, we're gonna go ahead and set one up. I'm gonna do an example. And that's just called MLA formatting. So there are a lot of different ways to write essays. And when you go to college, your instructors are gonna want you to use citations. Like, oh, I found this from this encyclopedia, which we don't do anymore really, but I find this from this book, from this textbook, my psychology book, I used this quote in my essay, and you have to give that credit to the author. So there are like all these different ways to do that. MLA is the first way, and that's what we're doing. Modern Language Association. That's the venue or like the group under whom we are using their rules, MLA rules. Then you've got, and I'm just gonna say this because most everybody next is gonna use APA. It's American Psychological Association rules. And then there's another group called Chicago that they do their own rules. So there's a few more, but we don't care. Those are the ones I just like to mention to let you know there's different ones, that there are different ones. The next one you're probably going to deal with in school will be APA. APA, not much different. There's a common thread, and you'll see, it may sound like, what is this? Once I show you, you'll see what I'm saying a little bit. So for our course, we're using MLA, Modern Language Association citations. And what I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna screen share. Let me go to the right button and go to my documents, share. I'll make sure I'm doing the right one so I don't mess it up. Okay, I think I can just do a different one. Tell me you see, yes, we all see as a blank page, right? Just blank. So what I'm going to do is just go through the rules and the things that we would do to set up our paper. I'm going to use my name as the student name. First thing I'm going to do is add my name. But then I got to think, yeah, there's a whole bunch of rules for Modern Language Association. You can see my cursor. One of the rules is that you'll have 12-point font. 12-point font. And this is all written down and in videos and stuff too. So you should be able to see this later, but I'm just going to do it. My font type should be Times New Roman. So I want to have, and I don't think I did it to that. I want to have Times New Roman, font size 12. Now I've set it so it should stay like that. Then I'm going to say who my instructor is. I'm just pretending, you would use your name and then you put my name as your instructor. We are in TRST, what are we in right now? 0911 or 21. I forget.
Nothing is showing on my end.
It's nothing showing?
Oh,
Oh, this assignment is showing? Oh, that's silly. Okay, hold on. Thanks for telling me. That would have been silly. All right, new share. Let me do this better. Hopefully I'm sitting here talking. Do you see that?
Oh, I do now. Okay.
I was like, oh, okay, good. I'm going to change this to reading too. Okay. So let's pretend we have an assignment due this week. And I say, write your paper, even if it's only one paragraph. I want you to set it up in MLA format. This is what you're going to do. I've got up here, I've got Times New Roman font, 12, size 12. That's the rules. It's going to be double spaced. Most Word things already do double spaced, but if you can see my cursor, I can come up to this little paragraph right here, paragraph settings. I'm going to pull down that menu. This is where you're going to choose a whole bunch of stuff. So along our way, well, in a different course, you're going to learn where you have to have hanging indents and a whole bunch of stuff. That paragraph setting, that's where you're going to do it. For these types of formats, for the MLA and APA, you're going to want to go to this paragraph box. So I'm setting mine to double spacing because that's what we're supposed to do for MLA and APA. When I put the date on it, I'm not going to put today's date for my assignment. I'm going to put the date it's due. So that'll always be the same. Your name, instructor name, course name, due date. That's how you'll head your paper with your name. The next trick or tricky thing you do is take your cursor And you can do it a couple different ways. This is the easiest in my opinion. You're gonna double click up here. I just double clicked. So I'm back out, I double clicked on my page. I go all the way to the top of any document and I double click and it opens up my header. So from my header opens up this whole new header menu. It's got like header, footer, page number, date and time, document info, all these things. What I want is a page number. We want top of page to the right. So you have to look at your choices. It doesn't say top of page to the right, it's just top of page, but I'm looking at my choices. Plain number 1's to the left, 2 is in the middle, number 3 is at the right. So that's where I'm going to choose number 3, and it says number 1. So now every page that I print is going to have a page number on it. That helps you keep it in order. Instructor keep it in order. The last thing you're going to add though up there is your last name, space. So if I hand this into my instructor, sorry, I did that very quickly. If I hand this to my instructor and she drops, what has happened to me, dropped all the papers and they're all scattered. Well, if everybody has their last name and their page number, I can collect all those papers and put them back in order like nothing. I mean, it's kind of a pain, but that's one reason. Besides, it's just the format. So to me, that's a logical reason why we do it. So we've got that, keeps everything in order. I double click just on my regular part of my page to get out of the header. So if I need to fix my header, I take my arrow, double click in the top. When I'm done, it looks good. I double click at the bottom. Now, just a reminder, there are videos and more instructions like this. So I'm just kind of showing you the beginning. This is how you're going to set it up. If you want a title, and you don't have to have a title, but if you want one, you have to center it. So what I was going to show you guys today is how to also make an in-text citation. In-text. So this is my MLA, how I set it up, format. But the next part is the MLA in-text citation. So how it looks when I write it. The article I'm going to use is the daylight savings article that we did. You looked at that one already, right? The daylight savings, that was a few things ago. So I'm just going to use that in my brain. Oh no. Are you still on with me?
I am.
Okay, I just got like some weird signal that said something timed out, so I don't know what that is, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so with the daylight savings, I'm just gonna make up a little, say my teacher asked me to write an opinion about it. Daylight savings is lame. That's my title. So I come back, that's centered, I come back to left. Now, do you know, are you pretty familiar with the word or Google Docs, like how to justify left and centered and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay. Some people haven't had a lot of experience in computers and some people are like, you know, banging it out. So no big deal. So I'm going to press tab at the beginning of my paragraph to give myself that space, the indent. I press tab, or I can click 5 times on the space bar. I'm just going to write a few sentences to shape out what my paragraph would look like. And I'm going to add in a fact from the article. And I'll show you how we do that properly with the citations. So daylight savings is widely debated for how well it works. Some people even think it causes harm. So here's a good spot to enter a quote from the article. Some people even think it causes harm, period. Now I want to back that up with some fact about how it causes harm. Now tell me, can you see if I switch to this article? Can you see this article? Or do you still see the same paper?
I still see the same paper.
That's right. I'm looking at the article, so I'm just going to pull a sentence from it so I have a legit quote. So it says, one of the things it says, okay, there are more fatal car crashes in the springtime, you know, around daylight savings time. More fatal car crashes. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste something too. Hope this works. All right, I'm coming back to our page. What I'm going to do, and this is the way I work on my own things. If I'm writing a paper and I know I'm going to have to use different citations or things, sometimes I'll copy and paste the whole article title and the author and just paste it on my paper until I'm done. So I can see their last name and I don't forget. Or I have that information. So right now I just pasted her name. The way I would do this, if I wanted to attribute my next sentence to this author, I'm going to do it in two different ways. The first way is according to Sarah Kodosh, more fatal car crashes, I'll fix that in a second, occur around daylight savings time. I'll fix car crashes. Okay. Now what I did, and I forgot one thing, was I put her name according to Sarah Kodosh. I have her name in there. So that's the first step. The second thing I have to do though, when my instructor or a person goes and finds her article and they're reading it for themselves, they're going to be like, well, where'd you find that in the article? So now in parentheses, I'm going to add, I got to go back to the article to see what paragraph it was in. You can either use a paragraph number or a page number, depending on where you find your source. That was in paragraph, I think 6. So what I'm going to do is come back over here and just write 6, parenthesis, period. That's one way to do it. According to the author, fact, paragraph number in parentheses. According to the author, fact, paragraph number in parentheses. Important to note, this period goes after the parentheses. Periods go after the parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to add one more sentence and I'll show you my next example of how to do it. There's only 2 ways really to do this. According to Sarah Kodosh, more fatal car crashes occur on daylight savings time. This is a tremendous tragedy. Okay. And now I press tab again to indent my next paragraph. Another problem with, I'm going to do this, daylight savings time, everybody else does. Daylight savings time is that people do not sleep well. Okay, now I'm going to make it, the other way you can do this, instead of saying according to the author, I'm just going to make the fact, just say the fact, and at the end in parentheses, I'll put the author's last name and paragraph number. So it's just a different way of doing it. Another problem with DST is that people don't sleep well. It has been found that more insomnia occurs near daylight savings time. Now, author's last name, Kodosh. Oh, wait, no comma, and there's a comma in the other. Anyway, no comma on this one, 6, period. Because that's where I found that. Well, and let's say maybe I found that in paragraph, I just made that up. I found that in paragraph 8. I didn't find it in paragraph 6. So when you go back to the article, you can say, oh, same article, whatever. Oh, that fact came from paragraph 8, count down. There it is. You can see it in the context. So these are the 2 ways. There's an upcoming assignment that has students having to write, I think, 4 examples of how to do a citation. And it's not different, it's just that they're different little readings you can do it from. So you just have to show me in 4 different ways. So another way I would do it, this is a big problem. Okay, 3 sentences at least on a paragraph. Lastly, there has been some evidence that daylight savings time can impact pregnancy according to Kodosh. There are more miscarriages around this time as well. In the paragraph number, I found that 12. Okay, so that's really all I'm showing. I really wanted to show you guys today was sort of how to do these citations. When I'm attributing or I'm giving credit to my author, this is how I have to do it. You can do it like that. You can do it like that. And you can do it like that. And so for whenever you write essays, that it doesn't matter if it's a research essay or not. If it's an opinion, if it's anything you're teaching somebody something, this gives your essay validity. and credibility. This says, I'm not just telling you that daylight savings time might cause a miscarriage. I'm telling you this because I found it in a scientific article where they did some research. And that gives, you know, that lends that professional and scholastic quality to your essays. So that's what we're going to be practicing pretty much the rest of the semester. That's my main drive. Besides continuing with annotations and chunking, there's some author's purpose kind of stuff. I'm sorry, I have a kid trying to come in. Not right now. Hold on. It's easier just to tell them to leave me alone. I'm in a meeting. Not right now. You don't need to bother me with packages during my meetings. Okay. I have 5 kids, and they've all been home since March, so it's been a little crazy. Okay, so those are the citations. Oh, somebody's coming in. All right. And also, this is the way we're going to be heading our papers. Let me move you guys over so I can move this. Oh, do I not have my header on this one? Yeah, I do. Okay. Hey, Danielle, how are you?
Hi.
Okay, so I kind of went through some of the explanations, but we can also talk some more about it. And I did record this. I'm recording it. So I'm going to post it in an announcement later, and anybody can go back and kind of watch that. Hopefully it makes some sense. What do you think, Suhi? Does it make sense?
It does to me.
Okay, great. Awesome. Any questions about what I've been talking about right now from you, Suhi?
No.
Okay.
No, pretty self-explanatory.
Awesome, good. And even like the heading, the header and all that stuff is good.
Right, yes.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna come back over here real quick. Good. So what about, and Suhi, before, I mean, you are welcome to go if you're and have any more questions, or if you just want to talk, because then maybe I can ask Danielle if she has any specific questions, and not go over this again for you, and I can go over it with her again and stop recording. But I need to get back to our screen. I'm going to stop sharing it for a second.
Some of the citations was knowing the correct, like finding something in that correct, that you, like, is it what you're going to believe to be a cited, or what they already have there to cite, cited for you in a sense, I guess.
Okay.
Like I already read the whole thing, and that's just what I'm having trouble on, like picking what to cite.
Oh, perfect. So it's kind of like the idea of, do I want to use a quote, an exact quote, or do I want to paraphrase the information? So it's kind of like, I think I can show you guys this other screen. I'll take it to the, sorry, I always look funny. I know I look funny if I'm like all up in the screen like that. Okay, this is the article. This is the article, The Ways Daylight Savings Screws with You. I was just kind of using this as an example. So I think I can use it as an example again. Do you guys see that screen?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So for instance, are you talking about like, or I'm looking at this article and I want, what should I use as my citations? Is that where you're kind of at? Like,
yeah, like right now, like is what I'm looking at on your screen is if you can really. So DTS eventually gained widespread appeal in the 1916.
mm-hmm.
So like, let's say I just wanted to cite that.
Yep. Here, I'm going to show you guys a cheat. You see what I'm doing? I'm copying it. Like, look, I highlight it, right? I highlighted it, and I'm going to copy it. So yeah, if you want to use this, like for instance, my process would be to do this first, because I'm a little bit of a shortcutter when I can. Work smarter, not harder. So what I want to do is I'm like, I like this. I like what this is saying. I want to use this somehow. So I'm going to copy it. And I can right click, I highlight it and I right click and copy. Okay, now I'm going to stop sharing this real quick and share the other screen where I had all that other stuff. Pops up for me, please. Okay. Oh, it's not it, but I think I can do a new. You guys see a blank screen now? Just a blank Word document?
No. It's the inferior world.
Yeah, I don't want to see that one. I'm going to try to write a book, and that's what it's going to be called. It's
that's awesome.
Sorry. I'm just trying to find that one we were highlighting on that had, and hopefully that's just blank. Okay, this is blank. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Blank one? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm writing my DST, my paper, The other one looked a lot better. It had all the right, you guys know that, like, we've talked about the formatting. We just talked about the formatting. Well, if I'm just writing my paper, pretend I've written a bunch, and right now I just pasted. I just pasted what I copied. You can paste it by coming up here in Word to paste, or you can right click and press paste. But another trick is Control V. So if you didn't see me do anything, I pressed Control V and it pasted. So DST eventually gained widespread appeal. You can really call that 1916, blah, blah, blah. Now I have to decide, do I want to use this exact wording? Probably not. They have some fun words in there, like if you can really call it that, like you're probably going to want to reword parts of this or change the structure. But let's say that you really wanted to use just this. We'll do it both ways. If you wanted to use it word for word, you have to put quotation marks around it, like I just did here, quotation marks around it. And then I have to write in parentheses, oh, what was that last name again? Gosh darn it. Kodash, I think. Kodash, and the paragraph I found that in was like paragraph 3, something like that. Okay, oops. And I don't want to put my period here. My period always goes on the outside of the parenthesis. No matter what, always goes on the outside of the parenthesis. Now, I just kind of like threw quotes around that and had the name, but I'd probably introduce that somehow. One interesting thing I found in my research is that, comma, and then I've got that quote. So that's how I'm doing it if I'm using it word for word. That's word for word. Another way to do that, though, would just be like maybe how you're trying to brainstorm. How would I say this in my own words? And I'm still going to have to give credit to Kodash because I didn't know this about 1916 before. I would be like, another interesting, if I make typos, I'm going to correct them in a minute. I found in my research about DST is that in 1916, it was a useful way to conserve wartime coal. Okay, I found that from Kodash dash paragraph 3, period. Now, the difference is I did not put quotation marks around it because I used it, I just did my own words. But it's still a fact I wouldn't have known otherwise. That's what you got to think of. Like, how do I know this because I'm just a human and I just know this? Like I can go outside and be like, it's hot. Okay, I don't have to quote that. I know that. But if I'm like, it was hot in California today, according to, in my parentheses, Weather Channel, paragraph 5, whatever. Or you can also cite things like podcasts, webinars, articles, all kinds of books, audio clips. You can cite all of those things. You can make a citation like I did with Kodash on all of those things. And there are books, there's a great website. I'll post it later with this video. It's Purdue OWL. I'm sure it's in somewhere in our modules as well. Purdue OWL gives all the rules, for all the different types of citations. So that's a reference. I have not memorized, somebody else come. I have not memorized all of the citations way to do it myself. So I have next to my desk, like literally on my desk, I'm just pulling this out. This is the APA manual, the American Psychological one, the one that you guys will do next. My majors were psychology and the science of education. So that's like my stuff's all science. And you have to keep that by you at all times or you won't really know, you can't all memorize all that stuff. Lastly, I'm going to do one more example. How did that, first of all, before I do another example, Danielle, how did that sound about your question?
That helped a lot on my question. I was just having a hard time like choosing bits and pieces. I didn't know if there was already stuff cited that we kind of just had to note out and,
right.
and have the cited and stuff, you know what I mean? Or if we needed to just pick something of our own and just go with that. Like another question I guess would be, what if it doesn't have like a name or somebody to cite it off of?
Okay, so like if you were reading, give me an example. Because our article should have an author, but do you have another example?
So the one that we have now is So that guy would be the one that we would be using for most of this citation.
Correct. Whoever the author is of that paper.
Because it does talk about a few different things.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it just, some of them do have names of other people in it as well.
Mm-hmm. So what I would do there, and you're right. So that's a great point. A lot of science-based or research-based articles, they've had to do research to have their articles written or their books written. So within those books, you're going to have citations. You'll have further citations. So I've always defaulted to, I make it about what my author is saying. And even though it's been requoted or, reparaphrased, I use it as much as possible in the context of that article. Be like, I found in this article, such and such article from Kodash or whoever it is, I'm just keep using that name, that blah, 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 blah. And it could be a different quote from another person, but I found it in this article and this dude's writing about it. So, and there's different ways to that. That would be a good thing too, as it comes up in your science, like depending on what classes you're in. And if it gets thicker, deeper with those things, like there's so much of that, the things we have, there shouldn't be too much of that, but sometimes you'll read an article, I'd say half of it's cited, talking about by 4 and 5 and 6, 7 other authors. So it's really hard to know, well, who am I citing? But you want to try to be citing your author, like from the work it's coming from as much as possible. You can use those other quotes in the context of the article, if that makes sense. It's kind of one of those things like just, it'll probably evolve. Your skill at picking out the right things to use will evolve over time. Further, let's say you're in an article and you find that citation and there's that quote or their information. You could look up that article and those authors as well and maybe find the original piece and use that as another citation. Because sometimes you'll get assigned an essay, especially like a research essay, and they'll say use 5 sources. Use 5 sources. So maybe you've only found 3 articles that you really like, but within that article, you find a quotation or you find, that they cited somebody else. You might look up that article too. That might lead you to another source if you need more sources. Mm-hmm. And then you just go ahead and cite that person on their own original stuff and include it. Now, what I want to tell you guys too, I don't think I have y'all, I have 2 courses. And I haven't done this one in a few semesters. I don't remember at the end if I have you doing works cited pages. It's like your reference page, a reference page. So I just want to just touch on it, even if I don't require one later.
Actually, I think that's your next one.
Good. Okay. Yeah, I thought so too. So that reference page, I just don't remember if I included it in this one because this isn't like the writing course, but I try to hit everything everywhere so people aren't missing anything important. So that works cited is important because it's kind of making me think of what we're talking about. On my works cited, I write an essay. So, I'm writing about daylight savings time. And let's say I had to have 3 sources. Well, Kodash is one source. Let's say I used Wikipedia as another source, which is not a great one. It's just all I can think of right now. And let's say I used a Time magazine article that I found also. I've got 3 sources. All 3 of those I have to use like a sentence or 2 in my essay. Like I've got 2 from Kodash here, but I'm going to have 1 or 2 from Time, and I'm going to have 1 or 2 from Wikipedia. So I have 3 sources. So I've got, quotes and information from all 3 places. If it's listed in my essay, if I use a citation, if I have an author's name in parentheses, that author must be put into my works cited page. It's a whole separate page on its own at the very end of your document, and it's just titled works cited. You'll have 1, 2, 3. There's a specific way to set it up, but that's all information that we can talk about again another time. I'm getting a wave from a child. I'm sorry. How distracting. Sorry. That was really frustrating. So the works cited page will match your in-text citations. 3 in the in-text citations, 3 on your works cited page. We used to call them, like, I don't know if y'all ever heard bibliography or just references, works cited, like, and I'll just even write it down here so you can see like that, cited, because we're making citations. Oh, why is that not working? These are our citations. So we have to have our works cited. It's a whole nother page at the bottom. at the end of our essay, like, oh yay, I'm done. Let me add it onto a whole new page. It's going to be centered. And there's some special rules that will be coming up in the video. I'm not going to do it all in this video because it'll take a while, and I can do it in another video too. I'll just definitely do that. But the one thing people miss is they'll list, like if they just read a book and figured something out or had a good idea about daylight savings, they've sometimes put it on this list. They might have 6 sources on their list, but they only mentioned 3 in the essay. You can't do that. You can only put the ones that are used in the essay on your works cited. So if you happen to come across some cool article related to it and you're like, well, I wrote about that a little bit, you cannot put it on there unless you have it in your essay somewhere and have the parentheses and a paragraph name. Won't always have a paragraph number. Sometimes you'll have a page number. In MLA, it just depends. This number here will be either a paragraph number or a page number. If you're using like a peer-reviewed journal article, or for instance, here's just a big random book I have next to my desk. And it is literally numbered, page 204. And this is a diagnostic manual from psychology. So let's say I found this about anxiety disorders, social anxiety disorders on page 204. So I would write DSM-5 as my author, because that's a scientific group. DSM-5 is my author, actually American Psychiatric Association, 204, instead of a paragraph. So it depends. We use a lot of paragraphs these days because we can research online and we can find valid, real sources online, but they're like in a blog format. As far as you just scroll, there's no page number. So that's why we use paragraphs a lot. That's where the paragraph part's coming from. But anytime you got a legit article, a real newspaper, a real magazine, a real book, you're going to put a page number on that instead. That makes sense? Okay, I know I jumped around just a little bit from citations and stuff. Some of it just kind of rolls out. It makes you think of the next thing. Did I answer your question, Danielle? About
Yeah.
I did. Oh shoot. Because we were kind of talking about the citations within what you're. So that does get tricky.
No, yeah.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
I do. I have a question. So let's say if we want to do quotations on it
Mm-hmm.
and see how you have the whole paragraph. What if we don't want to use the whole
Yeah.
paragraph and we
So
just want to use?
Yeah. Okay, so if it's in quotations, it's going to be word for word. So what you can do is take out what you don't want. For instance, you could probably take out, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete. To here, I could even take out, let's see, eventually gain widespread. Yeah, I can just take out that cheeky part, like the sarcastic part if I wanted. And it's still in quotes. Now, what you can't do is change the wording.
In that quote, while you have the quotations.
Right. If you have the quotation marks, that's my quotes sign. If you have those quotation marks, it has to still be word for word. Don't change the wording. If you want to change the wording, that's totally awesome and usually better. I mean, sometimes it makes sense to have a real quote. Like if I have some things that, Abraham Lincoln said, well, I want to put that in quotes, like a lot of times. But if I'm kind of spewing it back out and putting it in my own words, that doesn't need a quote, but it still needs the author's name here.
Okay.
So I remember, sorry, I have
Yeah.
my camera off because I have my baby. But
That's okay. Glad you're here.
so with a paragraph, I remember I'd use, let's say, the first part of it, and then if I put 3 dots and then go to skip forward to the rest of the paragraph that I want, is that acceptable too?
Yes, that is acceptable. That's a really advanced, it's a good way to do it. So what she just said, and actually I think I can, let's see if I can do this. Okay, so I just repasted kind of what we were talking about, so I can change it. So she's saying hey, I don't want to use the whole thing, especially if it's in a paragraph. Now, are you saying because you want to use specific parts? And all right, I'm going to say your name. I'm going to say your name incorrectly. You can tell me. Is it just Galilea, or should I say it a different way?
No, you got it.
Okay, good. Because I'm not going to mess up a name like I messed up Suhi's name at first. That was just wrong. So like if you have a really long paragraph, what she's saying is you could take out, and this isn't a good example because it's only a couple sentences, but if you imagined it, you would find the proper spot. I'm kind of pretending here. And you make an ellipse, 3 dots, and you've got the rest. It's usually a big long paragraph that has some key points or it's specifically referenced. But what's like, somebody would want to go look it up later. In here, what I would target, if I was going to do something like that, the words that I write should be the words that are important for my reader. So if I'm taking any parts of it out with an ellipse, then what I do want to put is what's most important for my readers. So that is another way you could do that. But this isn't the best example because it's not a big long paragraph. I'm going to write myself a note and maybe look up a better example of that. And if I do the works cited page on a video, I'll also address that too. So let's see, citations with an ellipse, which is what those 3 little dots are called. Okay, paragraph. I haven't done that in a long, I don't know that I've ever actually used that technique for my own self. I usually love to get as many words as possible, so it takes up more space. Like when you had to write a 5 to 7 page paper, I was finding these long quotes. I'm like, yeah, you know, but if it gets to be like a really long quote, that was back in my college days. Yes, I did, you know, I was like cutting corners a little bit, but it was all legit and related to what I had to. I always got good grades on my essays. But if you get a really long quote or a paragraph quote, another way to do that, I'm doing this with my hands, but because like if this is the whole paper, you indent a special way and you can do a long paragraph in these indents. If it's over a certain amount of sentences, you're supposed to do it in these indents. I don't even bother really worrying about that with us because I don't know that we're gonna run into that yet for us. In another course though, and I know in English, the next English course, they'll go over that stuff again too, especially on the indent stuff, because that's when you're gonna start getting into those trickier situations. We're kind of just doing the let's start and take a look at it and figure it out stage. So Galileo, while that didn't quite answer your question, that is acceptable, but I'll definitely reverse myself in the best way to handle that situation and talk about it again sometime. So I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Okay, good.
I just didn't know if that was something I made up in my head, because I swear I learned it in high school, but then at the same time I can't remember if I'm not remember it correctly.
Yeah, you're totally right. I'm not remembering as many details as I should to give you all a better explanation on it. But that is a process. It is a thing you can do, and I'll just get more information on that. And if you figure out how to do it, you're welcome to implement it in any of your writing too. Hi guys. There's the little one. So how about any more questions or anything that did anything I bring up more questions?
I think I'm good on that. So.
Okay. Awesome.
And then you said all this was gonna be you recording it, so you're gonna post it, right? So I can look over it later. Okay.
Absolutely. This one has been recorded, so we should be able to all go look at it later. See if I can't also put up really quickly that other screen that Suhi and I were looking at. I just don't know if I accidentally closed it or something, because it had a lot of good stuff on it in terms of how I want. Oh, here it is. Okay, tell me if you guys see this. So are we all comfortable with, this is like the format, you know, with your name, instructor name, date, and down here, this is just a reminder, should be the due date. So not the date you're working on it, but the due date is best there. Name and the page number up there. And that's it. So this will all be in the video. You guys can come and reference this. You can pause it and look at things, but the highlighted portions are just the different ways to do citations. All of it's based on my example today was that daylight savings article that we all looked at before. So that'll all be in there.
All
yep.
right.
Yep. And the next thing you guys are here, you know, we're going to be doing next in class or working on, I'll be doing all the steps of the research project and it's the topic to you. So I say research project, you don't need to get, you know, don't feel overwhelmed. It shouldn't be too much. It should be kind of fun. So pick anything that you think you just want to do a little more research about. It's just to get us practicing looking in the database, the library database, finding some research and pulling out citations. So it could be health, it could be animals, it could be kids, it could be space, whatever you want to do. It could be something about food, you know, I don't know. So you'll let me know at some point. It's part of the assignment. I think step 1 is to tell me what you're going to do. So that's it. That's all that's coming up. So keep practicing annotations and chunking, your study skills, and citations is like the big thing. But anybody have any more questions about anything?
I actually turned in a paper last week or something, maybe this week, but I'm not sure if I'm doing it right, like on my Word document. Like,
Okay.
I know I was able to get like the Aaron Thomas, Dr. Jones, that stuff, you know what I mean? But I just wanted to make sure to let you know that if it's wrong, definitely I need to find a way to figure out how to do it on my
Yeah.
computer, because it's really like bugging me out.
I recommend instead of you can always use the template. So if you go into Word, they have the MLA template that sets your paper up. They also have an APA template for when you go to the next class. I would almost open that up in one window and open up a blank document in the other window and just go ahead and do it myself. Instead of having to erase so much stuff, just start your Word document and just, set the type to 12, Times New Roman, double space, set all that up for yourself real quick. And that's in this video, so you can go back and watch that too. There's lots of good videos on YouTube as well. You set that up, then do your name and the instructor name, course name and date. And you can double click, it's in the video too, how to double click and get yourself the header. And all those rules are in. So it might be easier for you to do without the template and just do it on your own instead. And so if you rewatch part of the video, this meeting video, which I'll post in a little bit, that'll be on there as well. And asking questions and being here to discuss it with me. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll probably do another one next week, or if somebody asks a question. So anytime you have a question, I'll probably, if we want to do a Zoom, I'll do one for everybody. Because if you have a question, other people probably do. And it's just nice to connect too, while we're all still kind of quarantined and things. So
Yeah.
good. All right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your day. Remember, let me know if there's anything that you need. Okay.
Thank you.
See you all.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. See y'all later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.